The checkbox control allows the user to choose from a list of options. This control lets the user pick a combination of options. When the control is checked, it is set to a Boolean true. Unchecked is a Boolean false. The commonly used properties are: there's a name, unique ID to refer to a specific control in code. The check property is a Boolean value. The default is unchecked. You click in it, or you set it to true, and it is checked. There's a font property. It will be applies to all controls in the panel. You can set the name, size, and the bold are the common ones that I might use. There's a location property where you position the checkbox control. X is the horizontal position on the form, and Y is the vertical position on the form. There's also a tab index. It's a sequence or order in which the control will get the focus when the user hits the tab key. Checkboxes tend to tab one after the other. You might have a selection of them, and you want them to be able to be tabbed in a certain order. There is the default event with the checkbox control, the check changed event. Every time you click on it, the check change event is fired if there's code in it. This code is executed when the control is checked or unchecked by the user. Let's take a look at all this. In order to get a checkbox on your screen, you'll just simply go to the common controls and click on the checkbox and pop it in there, and there it is. And then you can set it any way you want. I'm going to change the font on this thing because I typically do want it a little bit larger. So I'll do that right here, and I'll make it bold, and I'll set my size to, let's say, 12 so we can see it nice and clear. I can also stick something in here if I want. I can use a text property to do that. And by going down to the text property, I can set this from checkbox 1 to Packers. I then can also go up to the ID property, and I typically use Hungarian notation, so I'll say CBX for checkbox, and then Packers. You'll note that this particular selection is not checked, and that's typically the default that you actually want in there. Let's click on it. And you can see the check state is false here. I can change this by going in here and simply saying true, and then it'll appear checked. I set it running. You'll see it's checked, and I can uncheck it by simply clicking on it. That's how this thing works. Typically, you use a group of these things, and typically they're put inside a panel so you can control them all. So I'm going to add a panel to this form just so we can see how this thing works. But I'm going to go down to the containers and bring up a panel and put it right over here. And I'm going to take this checkbox here and move it into the panel. I'm also going to make a copy of it. First of all, make this thing a little bit larger. And I'll make a copy of it by Control-C. 1, 2, 3. I'll put 3 of them down here. And I'm going to put them in different orders, as you can see here. And we're going to change this one to Bears. And this one to Lions. And this one to Vikings. I'm also going to uncheck the properties on all of these. Go to my check. Actually, what I can do, I can actually highlight all of them at once. And then check all of the properties, all the check properties to off. Here's a check state, make it false, and now they're all off. The nice thing about this is I can now take the group box or the panel and move it around where I want, and there it is. When I run the program, you'll see them appear, and I can check the ones I want to check. This were ingredients on a pizza. I might have pepperoni up here, onions, olives, and so on down the line. I could actually check the ones I wanted, and then through interrogation with if statement, I can see if these things have actually been checked. If you want to look at the check change event, you double click on the checkbox that you're looking at, and code will appear. And there it is. And you can basically write code then to interrogate what's there, because this will fire. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if CBX Packers is set true, I want to do something. But I'm going to say an else on here. Else something else. So if it's checked, I'm going to say message box dot show you have checked Packers. And I'm going to say right down here, I'm going to say the same message box, do a copy and paste it and put it in the else statement and put in you have unchecked Packers. Now, I haven't written one for the other ones. That's okay. Save all, run it. Our program comes up, and we can check Packers, and we get a message box. You have checked Packers. Great to know. Okay, I'm going to check Bears and Lions and Vikings, but they don't have any message boxes associated because I don't have the check change event written for them. I do have for the Packers. If I uncheck Packers now, you've unchecked Packers. It comes back and fires that event, and I could have done that for all of these things. Interestingly enough, If I check the Packers again and set it off on there, I can tab through, but notice that my tab index key is not set properly. I'm bouncing from Packers to Lions to Vikings to Bears. By hitting the space bar, you can uncheck these things. And the nice thing is you can have a list of these things, and then through the interrogation of your program, you can look at them, and if they're checked, you may want to use them. Again, if the pizza example, if this is pepperoni, onions, olives, and green peppers, and all of them are checked, you could actually state there, if pepperoni, add pepperoni to the menu. If onions, add it to the menu. If olives, add it to the menu. If green peppers, add it to the menu, and so on. That's all you need. That's how the checkbox works. Now notice the panel does not appear here because I used a panel instead of a combo box. And so what you're seeing here is nothing behind it. I could make it visible, but this is fine the way it is, and it'll function as one. And I can make this thing disappear very easily then too by just turning the panel off. That's our checkboxes in a nutshell.